Hello. Welcome to Cancer, Smiles, and Sarcasm. Today we have your host. Yes, that's me, Tammy, here to talk to you about, well, me in stage 4. And I think to myself, why am I doing this short-ass podcast? This specific episode? Well, folks, because drama sells. And I know you're not paying for this podcast, but you know what I've learned from watching TV is that people like the drama. What I've learned from making posts on social media, people like the drama, right? When I post on TikTok something positive and something funny, people generally don't listen. But when I post something funny or positive, people generally don't start following me. But when I post about the yuckiness of my disease, the blah, yuck, that's what sells, my friends. People like to hear about the breakups. They like to hear about murders. They like to hear about people getting hurt. They like that shit, right? So I'm not trying to complain in this. I'm just trying to do what sells, folks, and I'm just trying to keep my listeners updated. So listen up, folks. Here's a short podcast for you if you're interested. If not, move forward. Thanks. Did you know that 65% of people with metastatic breast cancer that have involvement in the organs will die within 5 years of diagnosis? That means I have 65% chance of dying within the next 4 years. Of course. I could be one of those 35%, right? I could be one of the ones who lives for 20 years. But my status and, my history with this disease shows a little bit different, and I'm not overly optimistic that I'm going to live that long. But sometimes I think the real question is, do I want to live that long? Well, let's talk about my status physically. Physically, I'm sitting here. I'm generally uncomfortable, right? I have tumors in my spine, my hips, my skull. I have tumors throughout my lungs. It's uncomfortable to breathe. I'm on oxygen 24/7. So I'm tied to this fucking nose hose all the time, which is what I call my oxygen tube. When I'm not sitting here at home with a 25 foot or 40 foot or however long foot it is, feet, however long it is, when I'm not tied to that, I have to use a backpack and then put it on however many liters I need at that time, which can range from 1 to 4. If I'm on 1 liter, I can have 4 hours of freedom. If I require more than that, it goes down to about an hour and a half of freedom before my battery runs out and I have a lack of oxygen. So generally speaking, right, being on oxygen is just uncomfortable, but more so it's just annoying. And it doesn't mean that I can just breathe like you can. Well, assuming you don't have lung cancer or COPD or something else. But anyways, so it doesn't mean that I can just breathe like the normal person without some lung disease. It means that I can just breathe, right? That my brain is now getting enough oxygen so that I can think somewhat clearly and that I can just do my general activities of daily life. But going up and down the stairs, going out for a walk, hanging out with my equine, especially at 7,000 feet. Yes, my equine, that is my donkeys and my mule. Hanging out with them at 7,000 feet is just not comfortable, right? I just don't breathe well. And so, oxygen, that's one of the things. My body, how it feels, that's just another one of those things. I can take pain pills, but even with pain pills, sometimes you just don't find comfort in your body. And then there is just the general feeling of whatever the fuck it is that chemo does to your body, right? I am on a daily dose of chemo. It's in pill format. And that, my friends, does not make me feel good. I have to take about 3 nausea pills every day just to stop from vomiting. I have a limited desire to eat. And overall, it just feels funky. Like my body just lacks energy. It just feels funny. It feels weird. It feels not itself. So I've got pain, breathing, nausea, and just funk. And then there's being tired. That's also something that chemo does or the cancer does, but most likely it's from the chemo. And then there's the whole sharding. Shit in your drawers when you think you're farting. Okay, yes, people, this is an ordeal that on occasion, one in my circumstance must deal with. It's embarrassing to talk about, but it's fucking funny. So since this is cancer, smiles, and sarcasm, and I'm not holding back, I'm just going to tell you that this is the real deal. My meds cause, well, number 3, the runny stuff, right? But my pain meds cause constipation. So you've got constipation, then you've got diarrhea. So sometimes, well, you just shart. I was, I was driving with my husband, and I really I couldn't tell if I had a fart or if I had to go to the bathroom. So I had to tell him, we were in the middle of nowhere. And I just said, you have to pull over. You just have to pull over. He said, okay. I said, I have to go to the bathroom. So, I mean, not pull over in the middle of nowhere, but pull over the next stop we get. So luckily, we hit the bathroom. That's all I'm going to say about that. So physically, do I want to endure this for 20 years? Not really, especially if it's going to get worse. So there's that. And then there's the medical side of it. So every 3 months, I have to go in and get scans. The scans are to determine whether or not I have active tumors, whether or not my tumors have grown. Every month, I go and get blood draws and meet with my doctor. And my blood draws determine how much cancer tumors or DNA or whatever the fuck whatever it is, however much of that is pumping through my veins, right? So then I wait and I get my results. It also talks about how my calcium is, how my vitamins are, how my electrolytes are, blah, 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 blah. So everything's supposed to be on point so I can stay up with my meds and just overall be healthy. But so, well, there's that. There's the whole anxiety that goes with that. That and the scans and just going to the doctors at least, twice a month, sometimes more. Just this constant doctor's appointments. Okay. You feeling me now? You feeling me? How you feeling? Are you feeling exhausted? Because I'm feeling exhausted. All right. And then there is this mental side to it, right? So I already talked a little bit about it. So mentally, you don't feel like yourself with the chemo. And then there's this whole, well, I can't really be a lawyer anymore like the lawyer I once was. Chemo impacts that. Going through the menopause and all of that stuff that causes the brain fog. So just generally being older and having no hormones in my body makes me a little foggy. And then there's the whole oxygen thing. So with all of that, I can't be a trial lawyer anymore. Not only because I have a bad memory, but I can deal with that. I can cope with that. I can put those things into a calendar. That's okay. But I have to be feeling good enough to do my work all the time, right? To keep up with those deadlines. So I can't take on a huge caseload like I used to. So mentally, there's this loss of a career, something I paid $270,000 for. That's neither here nor there at this point because I've already paid that debt off. But there is this loss of self. Who am I now? Who am I going to be when I grow up? And that, my friends, I am struggling to figure out. I am struggling to find out who I'm going to be when I grow up. And I'm trying different things. I've been going on Indeed and I've been reaching out to other law firms. Gosh, I stopped working for other law firms and reopened my own law firm because who I wanted to be when I grew up was somebody who was independently successful, somebody who ran their own business and found success with that. And now, with the limited scope of work that I can do as a lawyer, really transactional work, really limited in what I can do and what I can advertise for and how much business I can bring in within those limitations because I'll have to screen out a lot of different things. And so with that, I found myself going back to other law firms seeking part-time employment, part-time remote employment, because I'm often laying in my bed feeling nauseous or at the doctor's office. So really, I need some flexibility in what my schedule looks like. Certainly, yes, I can commit to some days of the week. Doesn't mean that I'm going to feel good those days of the week, but I can commit to those. So, as you can hear, there's some limitations to what I can do. So, I've even went down to, hey, I'll be a paralegal. I've looked for medical jobs. I've looked for any different kinds of things that I could do that physically wouldn't be a burden on my body, but that I could sit here and be remote and do. And I'm just not finding that level of work, right? People want full-time employees, at least the ones that the jobs that I can find. And I'm not being particular to me. I don't have a lot of history with other things. So I'm happy to take on an entry level position, but I just haven't found remote positions that are part-time. So there's the whole loss of employment. And that makes me feel like a schmuck. And it makes me bored. And so I'm sitting here bored, having a hard time breathing, generally uncomfortable, and generally just getting a little depressed because, well, I'm bored and I can't make money. And therefore, I can't go on vacations. And therefore, I can't just go fuck off and travel and do what I want because that's what happens next when you find out you have stage 4, right? You want to go out and get through your bucket list, do all the things to live your life over the next 4 years, 4 or 5 years, however long. For me, I'm just going to assume that I've got 4 years left, right? If I live longer than that, hell to the yeah, right? As long as I'm feeling good, yeah, certainly. Do I want to live longer and feel good? Yes, I do, really. I want to spend as much time as I can with my husband. I want to do things and I want to live. And I want to feel good when I'm doing it. And right now I feel good enough to do that, but should have come into my brain or something like that. No, I'm not down for that. But anyways, I'm not talking about that right now. So how do I feel about having stage 4 cancer? This question was presented to me not too long ago. I am currently emergency foster parent. So, I am working, I am doing because I'm taking care of this 17-year-old kid who's living in our home. And so I am working and I take her to doctor's appointments and all these appointments and, back and forth here and there. I go to all these meetings and just take care of her overall needs, her education, advocacy, whatever, making meals for her, doing whatever, just dealing with her attitude, all the things that requires a parent to be a parent. Anyways, I was going through this interview because as a foster parent, you're required to go through what's called a home study. And that home study is basically them just walking through your house, making sure it's safe, and then interviewing you, your spouse, and whomever else lives with you. And at the end of this interview and walkthrough, then some CPS worker opines whether or not you are medically, physically, and emotionally capable of caring for an at-risk youth. Somebody who's been through a lot of trauma and has a lot to work through and just needs somebody to be there and care for them and physically take care of them as needed. Anyways, so during that interview, I'm talking to this CPS caseworker about my status with cancer and telling her, the stats and, blah, 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 what that looks like, what it looks like for me on a daily basis. Basically, I didn't go all in depth as to what I just did now. And then she says, so how do you feel about that? Well, friends, I feel confused. I feel perplexed. How in the fuck am I supposed to live my life or live the life I want or live my dying life in my current status? And then you have to decide, am I just going to use this disease as a crutch? Is it a crutch? What is it? So I feel confused. I feel like I want to go out and do everything. I want to go out and conquer the world. I want to go out and travel all over the place. I want to see everything. I want to do everything. I want my husband to quit his job. And I just want to go fuck off and just live life to its fullest. I don't want to be a foster parent. I don't want to have a job. I don't want to do anything because I'm dying, right? So, what if I die within the next 4 years? What if I get really sick within the next 2 years? Oh my gosh, I'm missing out on life. I'm missing out on crucial moments every single day. And then there's reality. We have to work to pay our bills, to pay for our mortgage. We want to have a home because I need some place to lay when I'm not feeling so well. So we have to work. I really can't work all that much, not to the capacity that I was working. So the bills are piling up. The medical bills are certainly piling up. So I need money. I need money to travel the world. Shit is not free. Reality. So I'm confused. So do I spend the next year working so much that the stress and the physical things that it does to my body are going to make the cancer worse? Can I do that? I don't know. But if I could, do I do that? Do I push myself so much that I just work and then save up a bunch of money and then hope that the next year I have enough money to do all the things that I want to do and that my husband can do all the things I want to do? I mean, is that even realistic? I doubt it. It's like $10,000 to go to Africa at a minimum. So I'm confused, right? That's what I have to say about that. What does it feel like to have stage 4 cancer? What does it feel like to be me? This is how it feels. It feels yucky. It feels confusing. And so I'm staying positive. I feel like this whole episode has just been me complaining, but I do feel positive. I do feel like I want to move on. I do feel like I want to work part-time. I do feel like I want to go and travel the world. I do feel like medical bills are piling up, and I do feel like I'm exhausted. But we can feel a million things. So that's what it feels like, friends. If you want to hear more like this, less like this, if you want to hear more about anything, if you yourself are dealing with cancer because you're a patient, because you're a survivor, because you're a caregiver, please send me a message, get in contact with me so you can be in my podcast and let's talk about it. I want to get into some interesting topics, right? We do have some guests coming up. We're just waiting for them to come up, but we do have some guests coming up to talk about alternatives and different things. But cancer encompasses a lot. But really, most importantly, friends, it impacts so many people in our lives. Your neighbors, your friends, your family, you. How can you prevent it? How do you live with it? How do you deal with it? How do you help others deal with it? And do you even know the person sitting next to you is dealing with it? It's a big deal. Let's talk about it. Hit me up. Send me a message. If you like this, follow me. Talk to you later, kids.